I don't want that to happen because that will further shut down our economy. A tiny fraction of your tax money goes to actually pay for the welfare system. 1.5 quadrillion goes to the offshore banks. It's impossible to pay back. If you don't deal with them, I mean, here's the analogy. Both your legs are chopped off, blood spraying out, you're going into shock. If a tourniquet isn't put on it immediately, we will bleed to death. Now, we've got a tiny paper cut on our finger, and the government's saying they're going to put a Band-Aid on that. That's how big this Ponzi scheme is. Now, the domestication, the big government system is bad because they've got people dependent on this fraction. What, about half of the 14 trillion that's owed, they say, currently? But the real debt's 1.5 quadrillion globally? They've got us bamboozled into, we better stay in the system, we better go along with it, we better stay here in the casino and keep spending money we don't have to get out of it when it's mathematically impossible to do it. And now, in Greece, in Portugal, in Spain, in Ireland, and now in the United States, they are announcing foreign banks to own everything. BBC, also in Reuters, quoting him last week, the Republic of Ireland's top banks bailed out by the government at huge cost during the downturn. The government is just a receivership arm of the private mega six banks, should be sold. The head of the country's central bank has said, Patrick Honohan said, and as far as I'm concerned, they are for sale. The Irish government will outline plans to reform the banking sector. See, it's always more reforms, into which it has pumped 45 billion euros, or $61 billion, 38 billion pounds. It is getting a European Union-led bailout that totaled 90 billion euros. Remember, up just 6 months ago, Ireland's great, Ireland's wonderful, globalism's been good for them. Come into the EU plan, pass a law, let the vampires in, agree to let us take your country into receivership under this EU plan if you don't ever pay these bills. Boom. You sign the agreement, and it's like in The Little Mermaid. When the Little Mermaid signs the deal with the Sea Witch, she's got Flotsam and Jetsam, her two eels, the IMF and World Bank, and she laughs and goes, I've got you now, you're my slave. The Irish, and the statistics show that they actually stole the election. They voted it down the first time. They fixed the election. It narrowly passed the second time. Ireland, anybody in your government that says foreign banks should own you is a traitor. Same thing for Greece. Same thing for the United States. The Irish government will outline plans to reform the banking sector, into which it has pumped 45 billion euros. It's getting a European Union-led bailout that may total 90 billion euros. The International Monetary Fund will also contribute to the rescue package. Mr. Honohan described the EU and the IMF funding as a kind of backstop for the banking system. And they take German, they take Dutch, they take British, they take French, they take U.S. taxpayer money. They then go out and loan it to countries who've signed on to a mathematical equation to offshore private banks that's impossible to pay back. And then now they're in the news today, and I've got it in my stack, announcing Germany may collapse. The U.S. may collapse. Who's next? Is it England? Is it Portugal? Is it Spain? And you watch, they're telling the Canadians right now, who are about a year behind on all this, oh, you're doing great because you're globalist. And their prime minister says, we've got to be part of globalism and give up our sovereignty if we want an economy. That's how they hold you hostage. I know I spent a lot of time on this, and Lord Monckton's coming up. There's a tube strike in England. He was unable to get to his office. He'll be joining us from the streets of London via cell phone. That should be interesting. We really appreciate Lord Monckton. His wife just called us. So it goes on. Stock markets around the world fell as a result of fears both of the bailout, not a bailout, it's a financial takeover, may not resolve the Republic's debt crisis. Of course it won't. People can look at the math, they go, they'll be deeper in. That's the plan. And that other countries with high budget deficits may be forced to ask for assistance. Forced disposal. Among the stocks hit hardest were Bank of Ireland, which slumped 27%, which, again, the globalists like. And now, when they do borrow more money, it's a higher interest rate. Impossible to pay back. I've been an advocate for years of the value for small countries to have foreign owners for their banks because the risk is carried by the foreign owners who make it up out of nothing and who leave us with the bill. See, they're done gobbling up Argentina and Brazil and Nigeria and other third world nations. They're done gobbling up Eastern Europe 2 years ago. Now they've moved on to Greece and Ireland, then to Portugal, then to Spain, then to England, then to Germany, then to France. Gobble, gobble, gobble. They're just going down the line. What have I been telling you since 2002? That the IMF and World Bank are going to target Western nations. That's in the docs. They're telling you they're coming. For 8 years, I've been going, red alert, here's their battle plan. It's a whole chapter in my book, Descent into Tyranny. Now out of print, it's at prisonplanet.tv, a e-member version. And it just goes into, they are saying they're going to, quote, cut the Irish economy while increasing taxes and cutting pensions. And every time a nation starts going down, I hear all the fake conservative pundits going, look at those liberals. Their socialism didn't work. It wasn't socialism in Ireland. This isn't socialism. This is fascism. And I don't like socialism because it doesn't exist. The globalists design it. They promote it. The mega rich want your money, and they will build a big government to steal it. I know I'm ranting. I mean, they're announcing, again, they want to make veterans from grunts up to officers buy their own insurance. They signed a deal 11 years ago with Prudential, with the VA, to steal the death benefits of 6 million dead and dying veterans from World War II through the current war. That's Bloomberg AP. They are announcing they're going to freeze federal paychecks. And you know what that's going to do? That's going to make the feds squeeze even tighter for taxes because now their employees really think they're in trouble when that is a tiny fraction of the overall money. What about the bankers? What about going after them? Here's the New York Times. Gates seeking to contain military health costs. You know, the headline should be, Gates moves towards cutting military pensions, cutting military health care. It's all in the article. You know what? I've looked at the math. If we get rid of this fractional reserve banking system and don't pay these bankers all these trillions, we're not going to have this problem. But I do think the government's out of control. The big government was created to rob us, so we've got to cut the size of it. Don't get me wrong, but listen, deal with the banksters first. Don't let them bring in austerity. Raise our taxes so that almost all the money goes to them. Get the word out to the military. Get the word out to the veterans. Explain to them what's happening. Why do you think Homeland Security internally says their number one enemy is veterans? That's a fact. MIAC Homeland Security reports of over a year ago. 95% of it is for patriots. They're doing this because they have assessed you. They know that when they try to raise the taxes on your little farm so much you can't pay it, that you're going to go postal. You're going to go postal on the people that come and try to take your farm. Oh, maybe only 1 out of 10 are going to do it, but they know it's the vets that are going to do it. And if 1 out of 10 of millions of family farms fight, it's over. So they're spying on you. They're watching you. They profiled you. And they've all, even little towns, have created huge SWAT teams and are training them to go after you. They federalized them. This is a secret police total takeover. This is the real deal. The real deal. This is toe-to-toe, face down with pure evil. The average cop is dumbed down just like the general public. We got to reach out to these men and women now and explain all this to them and say, listen, do you really want to be part of this? I mean, do you really? Because when they're done with you, when they're done using you after the public, they're going to take your pension fund. They're going to take your brother's farm. They're going to take your mama's farm.